Hi, everybody. Michael Guberti, digital marketing strategist, co-founder of Guberti Giving. Happy to be with you here today. We have a very exciting, insightful interview coming up with Veronica Vargas. And just so you know who the two people are here, I'm Michael, your host. If you want a Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, or Google ad built for you, a website built for you, feel free to reach out. Or, by the way, if you happen to know an organization that serves youth, single moms, or veterans, we love empowering them through our nonprofit, Guberti Giving. We'd love to talk with you. So today we have a very exciting guest who has been in a lot of areas of expertise in her life and now lands on that of bringing joy to other people through Shaboo cards. And here we have Veronica Vargas. Veronica, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm great. It's an honor to be having this conversation with you, and I welcome you to the Shaboo Prints Artist Studio.
Oh, we have a firsthand look at the studio. This is where the magic happens, literally.
Where the magic happens, yes.
Cool. Well, and I understand big on cards, Shaboo cards. Now let me ask you, as to the origin story, how did Shaboo cards come to be? What is your backstory?
Well, my story is, I think, a very common story for a lot of folks. I had a lot of different jobs. I was on the professional job track and being a very dutiful daughter and citizen and employee and living for the weekends. And I started to get a sense that I wasn't feeling very fulfilled. And then when I looked at the folks further along the job track ahead of me, more successful, I didn't see them any happier either. So I started to question the system and I started to doubt it and I started to get more and more depressed at where I was. And something happened on a Monday getting ready for my job. I had a breakdown. I started to cry because I felt inside that there was something more for me to do. And yet that's not what society was telling me. Just get your benefits, get your retirement, and, lay low and get secure. And so I found that at the peak of that moment, when I was really distraught, I heard another voice drop in and it said, look, you've got nothing to lose now, so why don't you do more of what you love? And I remember thinking, well, I didn't even really know what that was, but I did understand that if I was going to continue to live within that context, that I was going to have to do more things that brought me joy. So I had to go back to the memories of my childhood to even remember what that was. And I distinctly remember feeling the freedom that I felt when I played and the fulfillment that I felt expressing myself and my imagination through creative writing and drawing. So I started to exercise those things that I love without any anticipation for an outcome, but simply to survive in that context. And what happens is when you're doing something that you love, your energy changes. And I started to get enthusiastic and creating again. And one thing led to another, supportive friends, and then boom, it was the evolution of Shaboo Prints. And so today, everything that we create, design, right, we use augmented reality, we use greeting cards, we use virtual programs, are designed to help other adults return back or recognize their happy place, just like I have returned to my happy place.
Which is fascinating because if they follow along that journey, they're mirroring your experience. So an artist, which you are, broke through and you decided to bring joy to other people, and now in the form of cards. So that's really and augmented reality. Let's take the cards first, and then let's go to the augmented reality.
So I've always been a storyteller, and I thought the best way to start with just playing with those skills was to create greeting cards. It was actually suggested by folks around me. And what I tend to do is I do character development and stories first, and then from there rise messages and images that I put on cards. So everything we create has a story and a backstory. That's why it's so easily evolved into other things that we're doing. But basically, I felt that I was able to create opulent images that allowed the other people's imagination to enter and then expand so that folks could have the opportunity to kind of reconnect with that other something that they forgot. And that was my mission with the images. Now, using technology and advancements, we're able to strengthen that connection and blur the lines between realities, which is really fun.
Yes, and then we get into the mixing of realities, but I do want to take what you said there. So it's a matter of helping people reconnect to the magic
Yes.
of where they were, and
Yes.
so and mirroring your journey in the process. This is something you did, and now you share with other people.
Yes, there's a couple of things in there. Yes. I think the key to happiness and fulfillment, which I learned in my process, is really to reconnect with yourself, who you really are. And who we tend to really be is who we were in our youth because we didn't know anything else. And that's when we're most transparent. So all I'm doing is trying to bring back things that will trigger who you were in your youth. That's one thing. And then the other thing I think it's important for everyone to know as they step out, especially as business leaders, is that your business is an extension of who you really are. So it requires you to know who you really are, and it requires you to have value in who you are so that your business can have value and a distinction going forward. And all we have is our own story. You are an expert at your own story. And I think what some people tend to do is veer from that story and try to be a master at something else when really all that you are is just right and it's what we need. So it's a very interesting personal development to be an entrepreneur.
I believe it. And now, so on the entrepreneur side of things, you can speak from both sides. You've been a business owner, which you are now, and you've also worked for business owners. So is it fair to say that these cards, regardless of the entrepreneur or the employee, can help to illuminate them, or perhaps does it work differently for different roles?
Uh, I believe that we instill in the cards and the images and the intention and the messages, what I call universal truths. In other words, if you boil all this down, we're going to get down to classic few truths, which could be love, sense of self. And so I'm trying to think of, connection with everything. And so if, I instill those messages in there. So I think all I'm doing is trying to let the individual connect individually with the images. That's also why we primarily use animals and nature, because animals and nature cross over genders, cultures, languages, everything. So I use images that connect universally. I also use messages that connect universally for both adults and children, although I'm really shooting for adults because we need to loosen up. And then I kind of leave it for the individual to have their experience.
Interesting. Okay, so they take their own conception of it forward from that point now. And you mentioned age. So almost a representation of purity is youth, which is where you say that's where you go back to. And then this really helps adults because maybe all the distractions of the world have rubbed off on them. We got to get those off and go back to where we were.
Yes. Purity, transparency tends to have a youthful essence, even in animals. If you see penguins romping themselves, we see that very as a youthful, playful essence. I think it's in its purest form. So it tends to be youthful. Now, I have interesting challenges, specifically marketing adults with these concepts, because I would say about 60% of the adults that I approach with the concept of raw, real play have a challenge with the idea. They have a difficulty accepting it. And some get downright upset with me because they think it's silly. And now what I think it's doing is that it's accessing a deeper level, at a deeper level. And many adults are at a stage where they've been jaded and they don't want to hope. They don't want to feel that because they were disappointed in their lifespan. But here's the beauty about being grown up and readdressing the concept of play is that we now have a history to look back at and say, so how are things going for you the way that you're doing it?
Right.
And all I'm saying is if it isn't going well, and I do think there is a syndrome that I've coined adult onset doldrums, that, I think it's important to assess, so what about going forward? And if listening to all of the external messaging didn't work for you or hasn't given you a sense of fulfillment, then why not consider the messages of your own heart again? And I help folks to reconsider that. And I think that reconnection is where Smart business should go. Transparency should go. I think any successful entrepreneur has been successful because they've been able to tap into their own magic secret sauce and stay distinct. I think if you stay distinct and true, it's a marketing message that will cut through the slice of the fog that's out there right now. It's sound business, as well as also, I think, a path to your own fulfillment.
Interesting. So there are multiple benefits. So the fulfillment understood totally, because you get to live with yourself and also be happy with who you are. The sound business portion, this might get a lot of people's attention. So the creativity is required. I would say a lot of people would agree creativity is essential for business, but if you could tap into your own creativity, then that's an advantage to you.
Yes. It's first and foremost, I think creativity has been given a bad rap because I think it's associated with art. And so I would say the majority of folks hear creativity and they shut down, assuming they are not. Now, I'm saying there isn't one living organism that isn't creative. Creative is a truthful self-expression. That's all it is. It's your own style. So it could be you creative in how you file your papers. It could be that you're creative in, how you put your books on your bookshelf. So everyone is creative, and that's important to understand. Freedom of expression is where you want to go. And to access your creativity and have truthful freedom of expression requires the heart more than it does the mind. And that's where I think folks have the difficulty, because our society doesn't position that well. So what we do in a lot of our images is we try to bypass the mind, connect with the heart, and speak directly to the heart. And that, if you want, again, distinction, especially market distinction, you create your messages from the heart, it will resonate with a larger audience than if you create it from the mind.
Interesting. Okay. Mm-hmm. So go through the chest, not through the mind. Okay, got it. So to connect with the heart, what are some of those images that you mentioned that really resonate with people?
Well, we have a lot of, I don't know, I could share a screen, but we'll do that maybe another time. But we have a lot of animal images. We also have inspirational quotes, and we are advancing that where you can scan those images and now see animated worlds. So we're now up-leveling our products to serve as windows that are opened by you through technology. Yes. So that you can not only see a still image, but now you see a moving world, and you can actually enter it and feel what that is. Your key to your creativity, your key to your fulfillment is whether or not you can access your heart. How you access your heart is doing things that you love and being more discerning with the messages and the images that you intake. And I believe messages and images today are as important to your health as nutrition. And we are inundated with negative messages and images. And so you can actually combat the doldrums if you're feeling stuck, creatively stuck, by simply going on YouTube, watching animal videos, really good. Children, why? Because they're honest, they're real. Your heart recognizes the truth. Another way is to step outside and just simply look up. Because if you look up, your perspective gets blown out, and all of a sudden it immediately enlarges your world. So there are things for, what I recommend also is to use Shaboo images and cards. We actually have customers who will take the cards they save out of their drawer, put them back on the shelf, and refer to them in times of, when they're really stressed out. They trigger another reality. And that's what we try to do. And there is always a choice. And so if you feel that you are stuck or feeling negative or pressed, there still is another side, but you would need tools and support to start getting your mind to remap to a different way of thought.
And one of those tools is your cards. So, okay.
Yeah.
So if someone is having a moment of irritation or frustration, they can use one of your cards, and that's a use case for breaking out of whatever state they're in and going into a new state. Okay. So
We have several vehicles. So we do greeting cards, which the opulent images basically trigger that imagination you be able to escape. We also have weekly video, like we call them good weekly messages, where it's a vlog that I combine some animations with that just basically tries to seed positive messages to set the tone for your week. And now we're evolving into augmented reality products that can be practical in your home, like lamps and things like that, that you can scan and then give you those windows and messages of truths, so that you can constantly have something that combats the counter messaging that's going on right now. I like to say that Shaboo Prints is kind of squatting on the plane of negativity right now, and we're holding space for another reality to consider.
And the word reality being used often there. So go futuristic with me. What is the vision for your company with augmented reality? Do I go pull on a lamp and then I'm seeing visuals and videos? What am I doing?
Yes, I have a sample there where there's a scannable area, like for instance, it would be that tree, and you use your smartphone, you use the free app, and you just wave it over that section and it will be distinguished. And then immediately it starts to open up an animation that can trigger another feeling. So for instance, the tree lamp, I call it tree wisdom. You scan it, get a random inspirational thought that I obtained from my watching and observing nature. There's a lot of lessons in there that your heart will recognize as that's the truth. Oh yeah, that's the real deal. So that you can then step out and, at least have those truths inside you. So we're looking at advancing that technology, and there's a lot of surprises coming up that by next year we'll up-level that technology, which I won't say, but the red carpet keeps unfurling. I'm partnered with a great technological company called iGreet, and together we are leveraging new technology in creative ways to kind of use technology to heal. So one of the interesting aspects we realize is that we have become so digitalized that we're starting to see an illness arise in our culture. Some of them call it the selfie illness, where more and more there's a sense of dishonesty. It's used for saying untruths. It's also used for not being truthful with your visage. And it's supporting a disconnect with a community and who you really are. And I think we're starting to see results of that in increased teen depression and adult onset doldrums. So we realize we're never going to get rid of technology, and there are many advancements to technology. What we're proposing is, let's take technology. I think one of the reasons it makes us sick is because it doesn't contain our humanity or lessons and aspects of nature. But if we bring those aspects into technology, we get a sense of balance with it, and we can actually use the technology to heal more than harm. We are looking at combining messages of nature, images of nature, with technology and innovation to actually reconnect you and trigger who you really are and consider who you really are. Actually deepen connections. So it's very exciting.
And well, yes, and I tell you, you said that well, merging the two worlds. You won't think of nature typically when you think of technology. The stereotype is, this is not nature. That's almost the opposite of nature. But now you're breaking that mold and you're marrying them together. So that's very unique.
Yes, and we think that's where, otherwise we go sick, right? So how do we use what we have to make us healthy? And I'm telling you, it might sound woo to a lot of people, but it is connection with self, our own humanity, and it's connection with our world. So if we bring those back in, then yes, you'll regain that balance, and that's what we're proposing to do.
Perfect. Okay, then, well, given everything that we've discussed, I always ask a question as to if you had to put your life's message, all the insights you've gathered, into one sentence, as interesting as that sentence may be, any rough idea on what that sentence would be? Is it embrace joy above all other worldly distractions? Is it abandon anything that's not tied to natural virtues? Well, any thought to that? Or maybe
There's several that are going through my mind. I would say the biggest message of my mission, the core message of my mission, is to simply say that to be more like you means being less like everyone else. Really, that's it. Because I believe to be more like you, I mean, it's without saying that if you were to drop down and be as you were created, born, I think that is what's right on the money. If you think about it, eons of evolution and laws of nature has resulted in deciding to express itself as you. And yet we have the arrogance of saying, I'm not that big of a deal, or what I have programmed my DNA isn't really what people want. Yes. So I would even say, I would rephrase it that to deny your potential is to deny the universe's potential.
Oh, and you don't want to deny the universe any. You don't want to make an enemy of the universe. Okay, I got you.
It also says how important you are, and that you ain't all that either, because there's something bigger going on, right?
Yeah, that prevents ego too, which is a big thing.
Yes, gets us in trouble.
It does. So now, given that message, with a message as good as yours, how do you go about spreading it, sharing it with other people?
Yes, well, it's a tricky thing because they are big ideas, and it is a wonderful challenge that I've accepted, because my challenge is to mainstream these big ideas. And to mainstream them, you kind of have to be unassuming and very approachable. And so again, I think the power of Shaboo Prints and the key to its success is not only me, because it's an expression of me, but the use of animals. What I do is really fun ways. Take animals, but I will add human expressions to them. And so, but with them come these very big messages. So you might think you're buying an adorable card or really attractive lamp, but what they possess are greater truths that you will access and recognize with without it like being clubbed over the head with this big idea. You will just see it as a truth, and you'll recognize it. And it is really fun to see people connect in their own ways and have their own stories on how an image had triggered a memory or made them cry. And they don't even understand why. The concept of playing. We have a cheery toot, which is just really simple. It's just a slide whistle, right? It's just really fun. So fun. But look at the immediate reaction. There hasn't been one person that hasn't reacted that way with the sound of the slide whistle. And I get so many adults saying they bought this little thing and gifted it at an adult party, and they just pushed the wine aside and all the other gifts, and they were fighting over the whistle. So there are all these messages of, yes, we can do all this other stuff, but there's, again, that undercurrent of need for wanting to be who you really are. And I do think we are innately built to play and give and receive messages of love. So, the snarky humor nowadays, the negativity nowadays, I think those are responses to imbalances. But the undercurrent is that they want, what Shaboo has to offer. And so as silly as it might sound to have animals on a greeting card, it's being very warmly received because of the mission behind it. And I think the deeper truths it conveys. It's an amazing thing to watch. I'm just the shepherd. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're coming at it from a point of being amazed, and what you describe is that you can create transformation. And as you mentioned, so the snarkiness is a bit of a result of being hardened by the world, but this is being softening back to what you were. And that thing you just did, that was fun. So you brought fun back into people's lives, and you continue to.
Yes, and once you kind of crack that little veneer, folks embrace the fun. I know that there is a company in New York that has a $1,000 membership And all it is it's a kindergarten for adults. It's just basically giving adults permission to play, and it's full. So, you know, people don't know why they want it. They just want it. They don't know why they want to feel good. They just want to feel good. It's another aspect of ourselves that is not being nourished. Things. And so but it tells you where I think our marketing could go, and where successful products should go. And it's about, you know, reconnecting ourselves with us and our world, bringing back those bigger issues, which is, you know, soft issues, which typically business didn't entertain before. And it's very interesting that business is warming up to those soft issues like caring. You see the good Honda guys, and yeah, storytelling. It's Google has playrooms now, so they're catching on. Yeah, it's hopeful.
Yeah, and gives also hope for the future. So, okay, now I would hope you're telling your email subscribers about this. I hope you're telling everybody about this because they could well benefit from it. And now, especially if and you say you don't know why they want it, but they just want it. Maybe it's because it's been so long since they've had that.
Yes, and I do think we're offering quite a stark contrast, especially today. So, you know, on Facebook we have a presence, on Twitter we have a presence, and we could tell that, you know, we haven't ruffled too many feathers. I expected that we would more, but there seems to be kind of like an undercurrent of respect that, you know, and hope. I think folks quietly hope for a better and softer world, for that a reality is that you can fulfill your dreams, rather than oppression and turning down the heart flame, and that's how you survive. I think there is an alternative, and they want to see others succeed in those messaging. It's very hopeful. It's blowing my mind, the momentum that Shaboo has gotten, and I think it really started with my own energy shift, doing what I loved. It was very interesting to watch.
I hear you. And the settling for survival. What percentage, if you had to put maybe a range to the workplace right now, is actively settling to survive? 30 to 40, 50 to 60, 70 to 80, another number?
I come from a situation where everyone around me, that was the case. So I might be biased, but I would say at least 80% of folks are just surviving, and actually are being dutiful and being a good person by obeying societal expectations rather the expectations of their hearts. And that's why you see such an increase of elderly folks when they retire pursuing their dreams, because it never goes away. It's always been there. Yeah, I think it's that big, that bad.
Damn.
But, you know, kind of ring the bell so that folks can say, you can. I really do think the keys to your personal success, you can reach success climbing up the ladder and doing what society expects, and you go, boom, you hit it. If you're one of those that is curious about a different level of success, a greater level of success, it does require you to throw convention a little bit to the side and pursue what you really love, because you can master what you're good at. You can only master what you're good at. So it requires you to go back in. Who am I? What am I? What do I love to do? And people are afraid to do that for fear that it's going to disrupt the stability they've committed for so long. Yeah. And there's a disbelief that if you follow your heart, you're going to end up as a unicycler in some circus, right? And it's scary. No. And as a matter of fact, the market, I believe, is softening for people who are pursuing their hearts and their dreams, because you're seeing it. And so this is actually a prime time to step out with your individual skill set or your message or your product idea, because if it's true to you, I believe that it's supposed to be provided. So very interesting times, and I do think that is the key to a greater level of success and a greater level of business success, is kind of going deeper into who are you really, and that's what you got to offer. And it's been part of my path because my natural preference and default is to be the creator behind the scenes. But what my business leadership has required of me is to step out in front of the business. And I do it because it's a reflection of who I am. And what I'm finding is that the more I step out and the more honest I am being me, which is a challenge sometimes, being fully me, stepping out, but the more honest I am, it's just up-leveled the success another way. It's amazing. It's amazing, the feedback, the success feedback. It's amazing.
Well, Veronica, you do it well. And I'll tell you that's a prime time for people to step into a new level of fulfillment and joy through your cards being the tool, well, I will tell you. And let me ask you then, so you mentioned Facebook, you mentioned Twitter. If someone wanted to reach out to you, I assume they could sign up for an email from you. How could they best reach out to you?
I would recommend first going to the website at shabooprints.com. And there you can see a lot of our resources, everything from products that you can buy to our YouTube channel and videos that kind of instill these messages. We also have a virtual online program for small business owners, which is the Power of You on Video, where you can actually learn to step in front of your business in an honest and compelling way. And you also there have the opportunity to sign up and get our weekly video good message, our daily Twitters that kind of keep you, keep it up. There's another side to the coin. And there's also free downloads and lots of stuff there. So we're actually trying to build the website as a resource. And you will also see our new augmented reality products, which we're going to launch officially in about a week. And then we have some other developments coming up. So keep an eye out so that you can step into the wonderful world of Shaboo and experience your real self.
That is a perfect way to cap this conversation. Across different devices and different realities, they can connect with you. Thank you, Veronica, for very much coming on, sharing this, and also helping other people around the world.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
My pleasure.